This is day 6 of the February 91 7-day retreat at Springwater. There are 3 questions here. When I hear you talk about the silent mind and see my own mind full of thoughts, I feel instantly that something is wrong with me. And I want to have that silent mind. Don't we have a choice to do what is right action, as well as a choice not to do what brings pain, harm to oneself and others, and also a choice to do evil? What does it mean to live, and what does it mean to die? There are many different people in a retreat at any one time in different states of mind and being. And at one point, someone asks about the mind that is full of thought and emotion, the body-mind full of emotion. Wanting, fearing, and we look at that alone, in groups, and in a talk. And then there are also questions about the silent mind, a mind that is not divided into self and other. So we talk about that too, in meetings, in groups, or in a talk. And can one listen to it all as it comes up, as it is talked about, and maybe more than talked about? Can one listen deeply and openly? It's impossible at any one point to talk about everything. But the mind that's talking or listening, talking and listening, can that be comprehensive, open, inclusive, of all kind of different states of being in mind and body, which may not be manifesting at this point, in this place, at this instant? Because the mode of comparing is ancient, older than our personal mode of comparing that is programmed into this particular mind. Comparing, finding fault, and wanting the better. Wanting to be like others, wanting to have what is imagined to be the solution to one's problem. Or seeing as a problem that which is going on in this mind right now, like thoughts, full of thoughts, Why does it have to be made into a problem? Because someone talks about a silent mind, does it inevitably have to result in comparison, this mind with what is being talked about? Or can it be listened to silently? Can thoughts, a mind full of thoughts, be seen silently, meaning without immediately the violence of wanting to change it, condemning it, hating it, wanting the other, feeling inferior, envying the superior? That's what our habitual movements are, but if we become aware of them, we don't have to persist in it. It doesn't have to continue. It's possible to be gently with what is. And if that's not possible, then can one see whatever is going on, the reactiveness, the comparison, and what that results in, the consequences of it? The turmoil arising throughout the body, feeling something is wrong with me, or something is wrong with the one who's talking, holding out things, dangling them in front of me. We think that way. We talk to ourselves in those forms and ways, but we can also tune in or wiretap all this ongoing commentary about our state and the state of others, and realize that what we think about our state, our mind full of thoughts, is much more agitating than the state of a mind full of thoughts. That's a tremendous discovery, to see that the factual situation is never as upsetting as what we think about it, what we make it into, elaborate through what we just went through, comparison, putting oneself down, finding fault, blaming others, and so forth. So can one become aware of how we think and talk and sermonize, spin webs, stories about ourselves and what we think we are or should be? And wonder whether this ongoing commentary at this moment of being aware of it has to continue. Or can one be with what it is all about? Get down to the facts. Which may now include the agitation having resulted from what we think about ourselves. To be with all of that gently. The second question is about choice, which comes up all throughout retreat and in and out of retreat. Seems to be such a difficult thing to enter into. Do we have a choice or don't we have a choice? All our upbringing and education, religious and worldly, has said, yes, you do have a choice. Just one of a set of Buddhist precepts comes to mind, which went, precepts are resolves, resolutions. I resolve to do good. I resolve not to do evil. I resolve to save all sentient beings. That implies choice, doesn't it? And the preliminaries to the choice, resolution, setting one's mind straight, as it were, what to do and what not to do. And then the assumption or hope that this resolution will result in right action. During the last retreat, I believe it was, or one of the recent retreats, we came to that in a group discussion. Isn't there a pivotal point, was the question. Isn't there a pivotal point where one either goes with the momentum of the habit or exerts willpower and effort not to go with the momentum of the habit, but to be aware? The pivotal point being that point at which I'm called upon to make a choice, either to go with the torrent or with the current of habit, or which is what the whole organism is at this moment geared to continue, or to stop in the middle of the current, say no to that, and stay with awareness, using, as it was said at the time, what is necessary, great power of will equal to the energy of the current, not to go with the current. That's how we've been brought up, raised, read, how we should be. Our spiritual examples, heroes, masters have done it. So we're told. And so we may read in their descriptions, biographical descriptions. And here, let's just wonder about this whole assumption of choice. Or look whether there is such a thing of choice, but it does not cover the whole field of being. In a group meeting yesterday, someone, and I do not remember verbatim what was said, so please don't hold it against me if it doesn't come out the way it was said. The gist of it was, I choose to do what brings me ultimately happiness from what I remember from past experiences has resulted in happiness, and I choose not to do what I remember from past learning and experience has resulted in pain, trouble, problems. I have that choice. And the person admitted quite freely and openly that this was a self-centered domain in which this choice happens. I may be putting it differently, the way it was put. But we can go on with this in the domain of self-centeredness, and we're not saying that judgmentally but factually, in which the thinking revolves around myself, reflects about me, what will be pain-producing for me or what will be happiness-producing for me based on what I remember was so in the past. In that domain there is almost infinite choice, what I could do. Well, at least enormous amounts of choice. I could do this, I could do that. I should certainly not do this, but maybe this time it may work if I do differently and so forth. In this realm or domain of self-centered reflection and consideration, there is choice. And the vacillation that comes with choice, the indecisiveness. People ask me and have asked me for years, how does one make a decision? And it used to be the most difficult question coming at me. Very hard to answer. How does one make a decision? What to do with my life? And it's coming clearer now how to put it, and it's open to discussion. As the mind is moving in that realm of self-reflection, with all of its memories of past pleasures, hurts, pains, there can be the scanning of all the possible imagined future pleasures, pains, hurts, and action approximated to what will hit the mark of pleasure or happiness and avoid the mark of pain or harm done to oneself or others. But of course it's never quite clear, one is never quite certain, because there's so many variables that could enter in. And one hears of new options, has new ideals which may clash with the old ones. Personal happiness may clash with the ideal of being a spiritual person, unself-centered, altruistic, serving others. And the dilemma, the conflicts of decision, what to do, what not to do. And even after one may have made a decision, the dilemma may not be over because one remembers one could have done something else. And then discontent with what one has done, wishing one had done the other, which would be probably precisely the same if one had done the other, then one would wish one had done the first. And that would have been better. And all of this is based on this mechanism that functions in this human brain of self-consciousness, self-reflection, which as far as we know, animals don't have, and therefore are spared immense trouble and problems, because they stay right on the line of what needs to be done, building nests, feeding young, mating, traveling south or north. There never seems to be any great confab down there under the tree of what to do next. Amazing the speed with which these birds take off and they come back. Who decided what? seems to work together. When certain birds are there, the others stay away, or they are just the ground crew. When those birds are gone, then the ground crew may go up on the feeder. Some of them may for a while hog the place. No other one, you wonder, will the others ever get there? But eventually they do. Things happen. Regulated, who knows, by what instincts and intelligence. We know so little about it. So this mechanism that is operating in the human brain of almost constantly or at close intervals reflecting upon oneself, what one should be doing, and sort of offering a smorgasbord of options, what one could be doing or should not be doing, brings with it this the dithering and the tie-up of energy, the drain. Or finding a place, particularly if one is engaged in what is called spiritual work, finding a place where one is told what to do. Now one can see the relief of that. Don't have to dither around, constantly figure out myself what of all the many options I should follow. I'm told what to do. And there are inbuilt rewards and punishments for doing right and wrong, confessions and repentance. What is it called when penance, doing penance for wrongdoing, and then the relief, I've done it, I can now go on with. There was a time when you could buy absolution. A few hundred years ago. You could buy absolution for your sins that you hadn't committed yet, which made the church quite rich. Then one has also heard and read about, spoken about it, that when this self-consciousness, the self-centered mode of thinking and choosing and acting, when that self-centered mode is quiet, is in abeyance, that there is no choice. That it's just doing, and it's very concrete. Seeing quite clearly, because the self-centered mode distorts our vision, our perception. We see in terms of what we want and don't want, and therefore don't see what is. We don't see people as they are, but in terms of what we want them to be for us. So when that distorting mode is out of commission, it's quiet, not in action, then things are much clearer. And what needs to be done is close at hand, concrete. Then whatever job one may have, I want to be very careful not to say get one with it and it'll be good. Because that can become a guiding principle which has nothing to do with clear seeing. It is again the self-centered thing. This is good for me to get one with what is. Then I'm the good student or the good worker, the good practitioner or practicer. But there is, when let's rather put it this way, when working or doing something, whether it's washing dishes, cleaning the house, or doing something in the office, something mental, when that is very concrete and not beset with conflict, I should be doing something else. Or evaluation, this is demeaning, something else would be elevating. When these concentrations are not, these considerations are not operating the mind is down to earth, as it were, with what's going on, then there's joy in that, because the body and mind like to function, to move, to operate. Just sitting in a chair all day long can become the most uncomfortable or ornery thing to the body and mind. By sitting in a chair, I don't mean in a retreat. Gotta be so careful what you say. It means not knowing what should I do, what's the right thing for me to do, and the inertia sort of beginning to envelop one. The inertia of too many choices and not knowing how to choose. Not knowing what's right for me and so forth can be tremendous heaviness, as people have reported it to me. Whereas if there's something concrete to do, it doesn't matter what, the concreteness of moving, using the body or the mind or both, there's some joy and energy in that. It's experienced as pleasurable or energized, whatever. We know, we all know it. Which does, but with I'm not seeing, be content with what you're doing, and if you feel, or if one feels one should change one's job, that is a sign of not being with it, or so, not to get into thinking about it. One has to look what's going on, each for ourselves, and we can share and look together, but ultimately we have to see for ourselves. No one can see for us and act for us in that mode. In the following mode, of course, somebody says do this and we just follow. Sometimes people ask me, is taking a walk or wanting to eat a meal or a good meal, is that selfish? Wanting to work out, do yoga, have some leisure time, is that selfish? It depends on how we think about it, isn't it? Doesn't it? We think it is selfish and we've already established something and a conflict with it. But I find that taking intelligent care of the body, working out, walking, getting fresh air, seeing to it that there is the right amount of rest, and eating good food, the enjoyment of good food, which may include Swiss chocolate. It needs to be no problem about this. The universe or the world needs not to be cut up because of that. On the contrary, there's more aliveness, and when there's more aliveness, there's a different kind of relating with each other, which comes out of a caringness, a lovingness, rather than obligatory actions which come from resolves, resolutions, how I should act toward you, I should save you. What does that mean? We work together, we care for each other. And that comes when the body is healthy, rested, well fed, enjoys what it's doing. It doesn't need to engender a constant self-reflection. Am I being selfish now? Have I chosen for my pleasure? These thoughts sort of sour one on anything one is doing. It dulls or fogs up the clarity of just doing, walking, or washing, pressing a shirt. It's fun pressing a shirt. Now, one could say, well, who decides this right action, this concrete action? Or who decides not to be self-consciously or self-reflectively engaged? Well, no one decides. There's no decision in that. It happens. It happens in an amazing way that cannot be explained. I can't explain. I think I've several times mentioned it. The example comes to mind. Driving once, many years ago, in an evening mood which had beautiful, intense colors and shadows at the steering wheel, and in front was, the whole horizon was lined with a set of billowing clouds. And they had these deep shadows in them which suddenly made them appear like the Swiss mountains, Swiss Alps, with their snow-covered peaks. And what was felt was wanting to enter into memories of Swiss mountains, climbing, so forth. And without any choice, effort, or consideration, the memory shifted to the cloud. There were the clouds again. The memory was not entered into. And there was no conscious deliberation about whether or not to do that. It just happened. And it's from such incidents that one says that there must be some intelligence at work when there's a moment of awareness that sees what is danger, the danger of entering into the video room, remembering pleasurable things about whatever, Swiss mountains or people one has been with and so forth. The danger of that versus the how one can call it, the naturalness of what's there. The rightness could already sound righteous. I don't mean it that way. It has no opposite to it. It's just what is. And that is noticeable in little things as we maybe sit quietly. A little while ago when we were sitting, there was a creaking in this window here. And for a moment the mind was about to wander into, is something dangerous? Is this window coming loose? Or something sort of slightly fearful or concerned. But then it moved back into just listening. The almost getting caught up in something again gave way to not caught up. And there was no thought involved. Don't do this. Stay with awareness. It just happens. There's no willpower involved because there's no resistance involved either. We talked about that. Resistance and willpower are a match, a pair. We resist then we push our way through it according to past resolutions. So it's not being denied that there is such a thing as choice, but it happens when we live where we live most of the time, in the world of self-reflection, self-centeredness, with its resolutions and temptations, and resistance to temptation, and so forth and so forth. We can discuss more about this in other retreats, after retreat, and meetings that are still there. And come to the last question, which was, what is the meaning of living, and what is the meaning of dying? What does it mean to live? What does it mean to die? We could start thinking about it or philosophizing about it. Say things, maybe that we've heard others say, or form our own ideas about it. But to be really meaningful, doesn't one have to be in touch with living, or with what it is that we call living? And dying, do we know what dying is? We may have observed others die, been with them. And had our feelings about it, maybe our grief of loss. Maybe a great urgency to hold on to this person. Not to let her or him go. And then, if death indeed happened, this incredible feeling of loss, as though something was torn out of oneself. Or regrets of what one didn't do for the one who died while he was living or she was alive. Maybe sorrow for the person to not be around anymore to see the sun rise or set. And in the grieving, the loss that is felt as pain, agony, is there also the fear of one's own dying, one's own death? Not maybe wanting to think about it, but it's there someplace in the background, lurking with its tensions. I don't want to die, or how will it be to enter this unfathomable thing called death? What will it be like? I would like to know. And of course, fantasy provides specters of what it could be like. Hopefully will be like a tunnel of light or something. Trusting or believing in after states or intermediate states, future lives, paradise, happy hunting grounds. All this away from this question, what does it mean to die? Because usually we think of dying as an occurrence when our physical life ends, which can happen at any moment. But there may be another kind of dying that one brushes up to or up with, sometimes during sitting quietly, alone. Maybe when this self-reflective mechanism that we have been talking about, which always assures us where we are, what we are about, what has just happened to us, what will happen to us, when that sort of goes out into abeyance. Actually, if it goes into abeyance, there's no further thought, then there's just what is. Nothing frightening, nothing scary, nothing that needs to evoke panic. It's just a state without self-reflection. Self is self-reflection with all of its emotive, affective components. But in sitting, many people experience it. The moment the thing, this mechanism of knowing about myself sort of slows down or is about to kick out, it kicks back in. Hey, what's going to happen to me? What will happen to me? Will I go under? Will I disappear? And with that comes fear and panic. It's not allowing a state of not knowing to be there. The state of not knowing does not bring panic, but knowing that one is about to enter a state of not knowing, that brings panic. The knowing does. Do you see that? The knowing, the imagining, the projecting, speculating, which is not just our personal stuff, it's in the air, it's in human beings everywhere, has been. Fear of death, fear of not being is probably the oldest fear, giving rise to the first rituals. To cope with this fear of dying, of not being, which can only happen because we can imagine not being. We can imagine death. And the way we imagine it, because we're still alive, as we're imagining it, we imagine that we're sort of buried alive, without sustenance. But we're still aware, we're still conscious, let's put it that way. Thinking is still active, so this is not dying. Dying is thought not speculating, thought quiet, at ease. Or, if it is active, seeing through it what it is. The reality of it is that it's thought. with tremendous powers to excite. Someone mentioned to me, you say that thought and feeling aren't real. I don't say that. I may have sounded that way. Oh, maybe I did say it, but it's not true. Thought and feeling have great reality. The reality of thought and feeling, which hides as it is going on in its play and counterplay, hides what is there when that is quiet or seen through for what it is, a thought which creates a response, a physical response. The seeing, if it takes place, takes care of it. In seeing, there's no fear. In thinking, there is. I don't know why I'm talking about this. Maybe because the questions are being raised and it's interesting to me too. Looked into a lot for many, many years, thought about it, looked, discovered. And maybe sharing this on such an occasion as this, who knows, may bring about that at the moment that there is no self-reflection and a fearful thought about to rise, one will see it as just a thought and not go with it. It'll die. It'll die into not knowing. And the vastness of that. And then maybe taking a walk, looking out of the window, or eating a bowl of soup. There will be an aliveness to that that has never been come upon before. Nothing spectacular, but alive. Seeing things, hearing and feeling things that one was out of touch with in this constant self-concern, which we're not condemning, we're looking at it. We're wondering about it. We're examining it. Actually, when self-concern is quiet, not occupying the field, something else also may come into being, which is lovingness. In which there is no doubt about what it means to live or die. Everything is just what it is, but not the way it is when we don't see it. When we're afraid or divided in conflict. What we should do or what we shouldn't do. What is right and what is wrong. What is right way of living and wrong way of living. When that aliveness is there, it's not right or wrong, it's alive and loving and intelligent. and nothing needs to be added to it. The mind, of course, picks it up, thought picks it up. Does it? Does thought pick it up and say, I've seen something, I've experienced something? Then it becomes a shadow play. It has the meaning of video. Memory, what was. But that too can be seen. And then the wind is blowing, the sun is shining, the ground squishes with water. And all these dead leaves underwater come to life. It's not something one chooses, it happens on its own. Maybe when there's great patience with what is going on in oneself from moment to moment. Not the constant wanting it to be otherwise. Can we leave it there for the moment? We will end here for today.